I thought it was just one harmless decision, something insignificant that wouldn't matter in the long run. I went out with my boss for one night, and I never imagined it would lead to my marriage falling apart. But here I am, trying to figure out how everything went so wrong. My husband wasn't angry. He didn't yell or accuse me. Instead, he just quietly decided he'd had enough. And now, I'm left to wonder, how could one small choice cost me everything? My husband, let's call him Ryan, is the kind of person anyone would envy. A calm, steady, and patient man. For years, I thought his unshakable nature was what made our relationship perfect. He never got jealous, never doubted me, and always trusted me completely. At first, I loved that about him. Isn't that the dream? A partner who gives you freedom and never questions your loyalty? But over time, that same calmness started to feel like indifference. No matter what I did, it seemed like nothing could rattle him. If I went out late with friends, he'd just tell me to be safe. If someone flirted with me, he'd laugh it off like it didn't even matter. I began to crave something more. Proof that he cared, that I meant enough to him for him to feel something, anything. I didn't want control or toxic jealousy, but I wanted to feel like I was irreplaceable. Instead, I started to feel like a comfortable habit, a piece of furniture he trusted would always be there. That feeling, it started to eat away at me and I couldn't let it go. It started as a small thought, just a tiny seed of frustration that grew into something much bigger than I could control. I told myself it was harmless, an innocent way to get his attention. My boss, Greg, had always been overly complimentary, the kind of man who knew exactly what to say to make you feel important. And one evening, after finishing a big project, he invited me out for dinner to celebrate. It was just the two of us. No coworkers, no team. Deep down, I knew what it looked like, what it meant, but I ignored the nagging guilt and told myself it was purely professional. When Ryan suggested we go out that same night, I brushed him off. I lied, told him it was a casual work dinner with a group of colleagues. I wanted to see if he'd push back, show even a hint of jealousy. But, like always, he didn't. He kissed me on the cheek, told me to have a good time, and went back to his book. His calmness. It made me angry in a way I couldn't explain. Was I really that unimportant to him? I left that night thinking I was proving a point. I had no idea how much I was about to lose. When I came back home that night, Ryan was sitting on the couch, as calm as ever. He asked how dinner went, his tone light and casual, but I could feel the shift in the air. I gave him a vague answer, brushing it off like it was nothing, but I could barely meet his eyes. The guilt was eating away at me, yet I refused to acknowledge it. Over the next few days, his behavior began to change. He wasn't cold or confrontational. Ryan wasn't the type. But the small things were missing. The way he used to ask about my day, the quiet moments before bed when he'd hold me close, even the easy banter we shared. It all started to disappear. It was like a part of him had withdrawn, and no matter how much I tried to pretend everything was fine, I knew it wasn't. Then one evening he asked me point blank, "Did you go out with your boss alone?" The way he said it, calm, steady, but with an edge of finality, shook me. I wanted to lie again, to brush it off like it didn't matter, but something in his eyes made it impossible. I admitted it, but downplayed it, saying it was just a work dinner, nothing more. He didn't argue or accuse me of anything. He just nodded, said, "I see," and walked away. That was the moment I realized I'd broken something I couldn't fix. Over the next few weeks, things only got worse. Ryan didn't yell or fight. He never raised his voice. But his distance grew like a wall I couldn't break through. I tried everything to bring us back to normal. I planned special dinners, asked him about his day more often, even tried to be more affectionate. But nothing worked. It was like he had already made up his mind. One night, after another stretch of silence, I finally broke down and begged him to talk to me. I wanted him to tell me how we could fix this, how we could go back to what we had before. But instead, he looked at me with a calmness that terrified me and said, "I think we're done." His words hit me like a punch to the stomach. I couldn't believe it. How could he just give up like that? I pleaded with him, told him I'd do better, that I'd stop trying to make him jealous, but it didn't matter. He told me it wasn't just about that one night. It was about everything that led up to it. He said he felt like I didn't want him for who he was, like I was trying to change him into someone he could never be. And then he said something that broke me completely. "I've spent so long trying to make you happy, but I don't think I can anymore." The next day, he packed his things and left. Just like that, my marriage was over. The house felt like a shell after he left, quiet, empty, and suffocatingly still. Every corner was a reminder of him, of us, of what I'd thrown away. I tried calling him, texting him, begging him for another chance, but he barely responded. When he did, it was polite but distant, like I was a stranger. He told me he needed time and space, and as much as it hurt, I had no choice but to give it to him. The days blurred into weeks, and the guilt became unbearable. I replayed every moment, every choice over and over in my mind, wishing I could take it all back. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep, and I could barely function at work. To make things worse, Greg, the man I'd chosen to spend that one night with, started acting differently, crossing lines I hadn't anticipated. The compliments turned into advances, and suddenly, the attention I once craved felt cheap and suffocating. I reported him to HR, but the damage was already done. My coworkers looked at me differently, whispers followed me in the office, and I realized I'd destroyed not only my marriage, but also my professional life. And then there was my family. They didn't hide their disappointment, and some even said they weren't surprised. "You always wanted more," my sister said one night, her words cutting deeper than I expected. Even Ryan's parents, people who had once treated me like family, completely cut me off. It was like the entire world had turned its back on me, and honestly, I couldn't blame them. I'd spent so much time trying to provoke a reaction from Ryan, to make him prove he cared, that I never stopped to think about what I was risking. Now, I was left with nothing but regret, and the harsh reality that the life I'd taken for granted was gone for good. Over time, the initial shock and pain began to settle into something even harder to bear. Acceptance. Ryan wasn't coming back, and no amount of begging or apologizing could change that. I started to see things from his perspective, how my constant need for validation had made him feel unappreciated and disrespected. He gave me everything, his trust, his love, his patience, and I repaid him by pushing him away. The truth is, I was so busy chasing proof of his love that I didn't see how he was showing it every single day. It wasn't in grand gestures or fiery arguments. It was in the way he supported me, believed in me, and let me be myself without question. But I had wanted something louder, something that fit the story I'd created in my head about what love should look like. And in doing so, I destroyed the quiet, steady love that most people dream of. Looking back now, I can't believe how blind I was. All the little things Ryan did, the things I brushed off as insignificant, were his way of showing me I mattered. And instead of cherishing those moments, I let my insecurities drive me to ruin the best thing I ever had. I thought I was testing his love, but really, I was testing his limits. And I pushed too far. It's been months since Ryan left, and though the pain hasn't faded entirely, I've started to come to terms with my new reality. The divorce is final, and with it came a bittersweet sense of closure. I've spent countless nights replaying every mistake I made, every chance I had to fix things but didn't. And while the regret still weighs heavily, I've realized that holding on to it won't change anything. The only thing I can do now is try to learn from it and be better moving forward. I've quit my job, distancing myself from the toxic environment that played a role in this mess. I'm working on rebuilding my life, focusing on my independence, and trying to figure out who I am without Ryan. It's not easy. Every time I walk into a quiet house or see an old photo of us, the ache comes rushing back. But I've realized that I can't let it define me forever. Ryan deserved better, and though I'll never get the chance to make it right with him, I can at least honor the lessons he taught me. Love isn't about dramatic gestures or fiery passion. It's about trust, consistency, and showing up for each other in quiet, meaningful ways. I had that once, and I threw it away. But if I ever get the chance to love again, I'll make sure I never take it for granted. To anyone out there who might be struggling with the same insecurities I had, I can only say this: don't wait until it's too late to appreciate what you have. Sometimes, the quietest kind of love is the loudest, if only you're willing to listen.